everyone. So this was a rather interesting episode to watch, mainly because it's doing a lot of subtle but heavy world building, where the Straw Hats learn this area they're being kept a prisoner in is ruled by the Sun God, who is revealed to be a giant wearing a bone mask. Now, as viewers and those of us who've also read the manga, we know this is not the Sun God because we know Luffy holds that title by way of his Devil Fruit power, but it is an interesting reveal in the sense of showing how much Nika's legend is revered in Elbaf. Like something we got a tease of an egghead from being written out with Dorian Broggy and them seeming to recognize Luffy's form as Nika. But here is where we're already getting more of a clear picture that Elbaf has a greater role to play in the larger world, because for as goofy as it is for a giant to be dressing up in a costume and calling himself the Sun God, it kind of speaks to the reverence for Nika that likely permeates Elbaf's entire culture, and something we'll be getting an even bigger picture of as we move on from here. Like it's something I didn't. It's one of those things where I was so annoyed, but so annoyed by this little section of the arc when I first read in the manga. I never really thought about the implications of it before, but now that I'm looking at the greater story of Elbaf and especially of what comes later, like it is interesting to look back on this particular moment and seeing just how the whole Sun God thing is kind of already a bit of world building in terms of like how important Nika is to Elbaf, to basically Elbaf as a nation as well. Um, and yeah, full stop, the anime is definitely fixing the pacing of this first chunk of the arc, because I remember this being a huge slog to get through in the manga. Not helped is that I think I remember Oda releasing the chapters out in smaller chunks around this time. So even though, and definitely not the usual 23 pages per chapter. So this, even though technically this episode only adapted one chapter, it still feels like a lot less of a grind to get through by the time because by the time we got to the secret room and reunited with Chopper, I had to check and got a bit of whiplash of realizing we're already halfway through the episode. And yeah, I acknowledge a part of a lot of my feelings on this was likely the week-to-week problem that comes from reviewing this series, so that likely didn't help either. But the anime is definitely mitigating a lot of the problems I had with the manga at the time when it came to this certain section of the story. Now, I do think, now if I was to give the anime a little bit of criticism, I do think Toei is still kind of slowing things down a little bit, as I was left feeling we could have adapted just a bit more, because yeah, my prediction was right. It's going to be the on kind of like 3 episodes is going to be kind of the magic number for this portion of the episode, for this arc, and I felt you could have cut that down to 2.5 at most, honestly. But again, it is what it is. I can cope. I can deal with that. It's just like, yeah, I think I wish we could have done just a little. We could have shortened this a little bit. Um, in saying that, a surprising MVP of this episode for me, looking back, is Sanji, and how he was the one he was the one to very easily put the pieces together and figuring out their situation. Like it's a small moment, to be sure, but one I really appreciate, because, well, I don't have as many complaints as some of the fandom do about Sanji's character post time skip. I do admit this one moment did feel like very classic Sanji, where, while he could be a bit pervy, he also had a natural talent for what I would call like deductive reasoning as well. And for whatever little it's worth, it is nice to see that aspect of Sanji's character kind of slowly work its way back into the character himself and the story, and just kind of see him kind of just like working to kind of puzzle things together as to what's really going on here, and him coming to the conclusion that, yeah, they're basically in one giant room, basically, and not really like part of Elbaf, not really Elbaf necessarily, is, again, it's a very nice detail to see with Sanji's character again. And yeah, outside of that, there's not too much else to talk about other than art direction was on point for this episode. Like animation was great as usual, but the art direction really added I'm not, like a lot of character to the episode, but in certain aspects, especially in the back half where everything was on fire and where everything was on fire and you see and you see the sun god appear for the first time, it it added a certain amount of tension and fear to certain moments that I never really took all that seriously from the manga. But here, those moments were much more terrifying, and just added a lot more of like, yeah, things are getting literally hot. Like one example obviously is is when the room catches fire. Like something like that. Like something like that. Obviously, it shouldn't be all that terrifying in normal circumstances, but because of the proportions of how the Straw Hats are compared to the giant size of everything, because giants do live here, it adds so much more. Like just a simple color. Just a simple color change of like adding some darker colors and lighter and oranges for the fire and whatnot. It really adds just that extra little bit of attention to it, and even more so on a much smaller note. I never thought I'd be scared of rats, no matter the size, but this episode pulled it off. Like the rats, the pet rats in this episode were kind of actually scary. Now that I think about it, but yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe from Blue Sky, Analyst Crunchyroll. Be sure to notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and just share it around, guys. Dark Knight of N.A. signing off. Later, everyone.